the fact that it's a championship on the line, and you know how difficult it is just to get to this stage, let alone the next one.
I mean, it's just the same game. I mean, it's my fourth time being in this game, so it's not going to be as big of a shocker as it will be to some other guys. But I mean, it's really just the same game as it is every other time we get out there. You know, obviously a heightened awareness and knowing the situation is going to be a little bit different, and it also makes other people play harder. But you know, if you give 100% every time you get out there, and that's always your mindset, just to be you know, always on 10 every time you get out there like that, then I don't think it'll be too big of a difference for anybody.
Lily Zhao.
Hey, Devontae. Robert Tenyon wrote a great piece in the Players Tribune. Marquez has talked about it as well, just their first time meeting Aaron. Can you just share some insight of your first time meeting him back in 2014, and also how has he kind of embraced those speeches that he says he doesn't really like to give, but now is getting a lot more?
Yeah, well, my first time meeting him was it was a pretty chill thing. First interaction was on the phone the day I got drafted. I think I told that story before when I called my wideout coach at the time, Edgar Bennett. We talked a little bit earlier, obviously when I first got on the call, and then I asked for his number just to be able to chat and let him know I was ready to go. And basically he didn't answer. Obviously he's the worst with his phone in the world. But he's gotten a little bit better over the years with that. But he didn't answer, and then he called me. He hit me back later on, and I'm in the house with like half of my family. And I remember just telling everybody, turn the music off, everybody be quiet, shut up, get out if you have to, because Aaron was calling me, and I talked to him, and we chopped it up for about maybe like 5 minutes or so. It was short, but just basically letting him know I was ready to get to work with him, and excited to be balling with him. And then I get here, and you know, it was a little bit intimidating at first, just because I'm a young pup at the time, and coming in, he is who he is. But you know, he was real cool and receptive of you know, everything I was saying, and you know, we chopped it up a little bit, but wasn't the as nerve-wracking as I thought it would be, just because we had a cool setting and he was real welcoming. And as for his talks and stuff like that, I mean, it's come a long way, I'm sure, for him, but for me, it's always been super meaningful, and he's always known the right things to say to each person if it was individual, and then knowing what to say in the situation, you know, especially before big games and stuff like this. I think that, you know, I appreciate it then, and I appreciate it more than now after being a vet, knowing how tough it can be, generating words and trying to figure out what to say to a bunch of grown men, you know, especially before a game when they've been doing it their whole life. So, you know, it's a difficult thing to do, but he definitely handled it well.
Wes Hodkowitz.
Hey, Devontae, you know, obviously Allen's brought a lot to you guys on the field the past 2 years, but just what has it been like watching him, you know, sort of be more of his own person, and obviously just, you know, some of the stuff he's done, whether it's the crown celebrations or just kind of growing into more of a, you know, a locker room presence this season?
I've told him many times he's one of my favorite teammates that I've had since I've been here, and that says a lot because there's been a lot of, you know, great players and just great men that I've been around since I've been here. So, you know, my hat's off to Allen for being able to embrace his role, you know, fight through adversity the way he has. Just his whole, everything about him since he's been here has been positive, and it's been great for us as a team. So, yeah, I often remind him to just, you know, remain who you are and keep doing, you know, little things that you do that help this football team win, and, you know, we're going to end up where we want to be.
Rob Demovsky.
Hey, Devontae, you got me? Hello?
Nothing.
No, can't hear you, Rob. I'll circle back. Aaron Nagler.
Devontae, a couple weeks ago during that Tennessee game, the broadcast made a lot of hay out of you and your route running in the snow, and the fact that your footing didn't seem to change. Like, it seemed like it was a summer day, and you were just making your cuts and going about your business. How much of not an equalizer, but how much can you take advantage of guys who maybe do not play in that stuff regularly or know how to work on it the way you do, in the sense that your game doesn't seem to change, but I got to think most guys do?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just knowing where to put your feet, because, I mean, the best way to misdirect is obviously getting your feet outside your framework. And when you do that in the snow, you lose traction. So, especially if you're not wearing the proper cleats and you can't do good footing. So, for me, it's just knowing, you know, having those reps in the snow, in the cold, you know, taking everything serious, because obviously, you know, I'm intentional about how I train.
almost 2 years now to get to know Billy and what he's brought, but what has he shown you this year with his ability to not only, play at the level that he has, but to do it at multiple positions now?
Yeah, Billy's been an awesome addition to our line room. From the day that he's got in here, he's had a great attitude. He's gotten along with everybody really well. He's got a great personality. He's obviously a very creative guy as well, so he brings kind of that flavor to the O-line room. And yeah, I mean, he is not only his body type and kind of his physical attributes, allow him to play multiple positions, but in addition to that, just his knowledge for the game, his work ethic, his selfless approach day in and day out, just willing to do whatever it takes and do whatever the O-line needs to make this team successful. You can't say enough about Billy. He's been an awesome addition all around.
Jason Wilby. Corey, you got me okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hey, you were a rookie on that 14 team that lost in Seattle, obviously. And I remember that year, and then obviously again in 16, I think there was a feeling of wanting to get Julius Peppers a Super Bowl trip. If I'm wrong, correct me. That was certainly a narrative to some degree. Is there any feeling among you guys that are younger than the old quarterback that would like to get him back there now? Is like the shoe on the other foot a little bit when it comes to him, or no?
Yeah, I would say in general for sure, but he's really the guy leading the charge. I think. I mean, he's done such an amazing job throughout these last 4 or 5 games. Again, leading us and keeping our eye on the prize and making sure everybody is kind of understanding, because he has that wisdom. He's one of the few remaining guys on this team that have won a Super Bowl. He knows what it takes to get there. He knows what it takes week in and week out to continue on that journey and progress and everything. So, yeah, definitely, I want to win a Super Bowl for him. I want to win a Super Bowl for the sake of winning it, for sure. But it's week in. It takes that mindset of week in and week out and handling your business and everything that he's done such a great job of keeping us focused and keeping our eye on the prize, for sure.
Bill Huber.
Hey, Corey, along those lines, I don't want to say there's pressure on you, but is there a sense of antsiness that this is your 4th trip to this thing, and there's as you know, there's no guarantee there's number 5 that, man, I got to win one of these things?
Yeah, I mean, we've been here a few times and obviously been unsuccessful in our attempts, but again, like I said, Aaron is the guy that's sealed the deal. He's the guy with the ring on his finger, and again, one of the few guys left on this team that have done that. And again, he knows what it takes. We all know what it's going to take to get where we want to go and accomplish what we want to accomplish. But it's going to take an outstanding effort this week. It's going to take our A game, because these guys are extremely talented front. They're an extremely talented team, and obviously led by another quarterback that's won Super Bowls and throughout his career. So it's going to take our best effort.
Ryan Wood.
Hey, Corey, not that obviously this Bucs defensive line is a very good defensive line, but there's no that you have to take care of this week. There are a pair of all-pro inside linebackers. I'm curious, when you're going from blocking a guy like Darnold to really looking at the second level, how does that change things with your mindset, your blocking scheme, and just how different is that to have to get to the second level this week?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of it's important every week. Obviously, like you said, their inside linebackers are a talented duo, but their front seven is filled with talented players. Veterans that have played a lot of ball, had a lot of success in the teams that they've been on, and a lot of success in their careers. And getting to the second level, can spring those big plays and can allow our run game to become become.
Hey, first of all, there's so many differences in regards to the scheme, what they're asking their guys to do. I think the Bucks defense is as balanced of a defense. They've got stars on all three levels, and they're very, very aggressive. Obviously, they can run. They cause a lot of issues up front, but you know, it's just a lot of it is. You know, they've got a variety of different ways that they can attack you, and we've got to be able to try to figure out what it is they're going to try to do to us, and then make sure that we have all the necessary answers to that. But there are a lot of challenges. Got a lot of respect for Todd Bowles. He's been doing it at a high level for a really long time. And then when you combine that with great players, I mean, that's what you get. And they've got a really good defense.
Bill Huber?
Hey, Matt, any update on whether Dylan, Veltier will practice today, and does Tyler Urban have any chance at all of getting back?
Yeah, as far as Veltier, he's still in the COVID protocol. Dylan should be out there a little bit today, and then we're just kind of taking it a day at a time with Swerve and see where he's at. But he will not be on today.
Mark Daniels? Mark, we can't hear you. Go ahead, Steve McCarty.
Can you hear me?
Gotcha, Steve.
Thanks for doing this. I was just
You're
wondering,
welcome, man.
immediately after the first Bucks game, I know Aaron Rodgers was saying how maybe y'all needed kind of a kick in the rear or wake-up call because things were going so well. Y'all been playing so great on offense since. Just what did he and just the offense in general kind of learn from that game that y'all are kind of able to take into the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think we all learned that when things aren't going your way, and this league has a way of humbling you, but when you face a little bit of adversity and things aren't going your way, you've really got to dig deep and trust that your teammate and that everybody around you is really going to focus on doing their job to the best of their ability. And I think a lot of us, including myself, were just, we started to press, and you can't do that in this league, especially when you're going against such a great defense like we were, this Buccaneer defense.
Joey Knight from the Tampa Bay Times.
Matt, can you hear me okay?
Gotcha, Joey.
Thanks. They started using Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones in tandem this last game, kind of a thunder and lightning thing. What's your impressions of those guys?
Yeah, they're two dynamic backs. They kind of bring a little something different to the table. Got a lot of respect for both those guys. They're dangerous. You better have an understanding of where they are at all times, and we're going to have to do a great job of tackling and making sure that we're swarming to the ball. But they do such a good job in both the run game and the pass game. So just two really good backs that the Bucks have.
Dave Schrader.
Hey, Matt, your teams have had so many fast starts this year, and the Buccaneers have had some slow starts. But I'm just curious how much you've talked to your team about the need to keep up the intensity and focus for a full 60 minutes, or maybe even more against Tom Brady. I call him the unkillable football zombie because he's just had so many comebacks in his career.
Yes, and I was a part of one of his biggest. So we are fully aware of just how dangerous and how explosive this football team can be. I want to say they've come back, I know, from at least 4 double-digit deficits, and Tom's been doing it a long time, leading his teams back. I mentioned it was part of that Super Bowl where they came back, and it's the mentality is one play at a time. That's how we always take it, but you can't relax, especially when you get against great teams. You can't relax for 1 second. You can't take anything for granted, and you got to continue to have that mindset that the score is 0-0 regardless of whatever the score may be.
Rob Demovsky.
Hey, Matt, Bruce told reporters down there that he doesn't think 28 degrees is cold. You've lived here for 2 years now. Is 28 degrees cold for you and for your team?
I think it totally depends on the person. 28 degrees to me can be cold at times, depending on what I'm wearing. But yeah, it's just, I'm not going to make too big of a deal out of the whole weather thing. Bottom line is, we got to play our best football game against a really well coached team with a bunch of stars. So it'll be a great challenge for us.
Ryan Wood.
Hey, Matt, we hear so much about Todd Bowles' defense. You went into the depth and the balance that they have, but when you're thinking about his scheme, what is the hardest part about preparing for that scheme? What is it about that scheme that is hardest to come up with a game plan against?
I just think, especially with some of their pressures, you just never know where it's going to come from. It can come from the corner, the backers, the safeties, the nickel. It can come from anywhere, and he does a great job of making stuff look similar, and it really helps with their disguises. They do a great job with their coverage variation in terms of showing you single high, and then they'll roll on the snap of the ball to two high look, and vice versa, and mixing up different fronts as well. So I think it's just a well thought out scheme that can create a lot of issues for you.
Ira Kaufman from Tampa.
Matt, what have the Bucs been doing so well up front to keep Brady unpressured during this winning streak? And Matt, what's your evaluation of that rookie right tackle, Tristan Wirfs?
Yeah, I think first of all, they do a great job. Tom does such a great job of taking what you give him and getting the ball out of his hands. That's number one. But even when they do take shots, they've done a good job of mixing in some play action passes, and it's just you got good players around them, and they block their men up. And Wirfs is a guy that coming out of the draft that we were really intrigued with. He's so athletic. He's going to be a great one for a long time in this league.
Stacey Dales.
Coach LaFleur, you guys led the NFL in scoring on opening drives this season. It's been pretty awesome to watch. What's been the key to that throughout the week? And then, weird question, how do you almost downplay the mystique, the allure of Rodgers-Brady with your team?
Well, we really don't talk about that, to be honest with you. It's all about, just handling our business, preparing the right way, making sure that we're getting the most out of each and every day. And, obviously there's a lot riding on this game, anytime you get to a championship game, but you got to focus on the things that you can control. I'm sorry, what was the other part of your question, Stacey?
Yeah, to lead the NFL scoring on opening drives this season, 13 or 14, if you include last game. I think you scored on the opening drive. Could be mistaken, but what is the key to that as you prepare through the week? And because it's so important in this league.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anytime you can go down and in that opening drive, and especially if you get the ball first and get up on top of an opponent, that gives you a little bit of a mental advantage. We know it's a 4-quarter game though, especially when you're talking about this Bucs team. Just their ability to be resilient and find ways to win. But I think the key to that is just our players being dialed in, knowing exactly what to do. Our coaches do a great job of preparing our guys, but our guys do a great job of really taking it to heart and making sure they're doing everything in their power to be as mentally prepared as possible. Then it's just all about execution. And we're fortunate. We've got some great players that are able to get it done. And, hopefully we can continue that this weekend.
Mike Clemens.
Hi, Matt. I didn't get a chance to ask you this over the weekend, but that drive, 14 plays, it ends with the touchdown pass to Devontae, 14 plays, 8 runs, 6 passes. And I know that you want these things to look like Aaron Jones for 60 or Lazard for 58 yards, but, when you got to about the 10th play in that drive, from where I'm watching, it's like, well, at least they're controlling this game right now. So what's that like when you got to play call 11, 12, and it's between you and Aaron Rodgers, making his changes?
Yeah, I mean, it feels good that you're staying ahead of the sticks and you're able to convert on some third downs. But You know, it's just about trying to stay in the moment and try to give our guys the best opportunity to go out there and be successful. And it's our guys' ability to take whatever it is we're trying to get done and then go out there and execute. And like I just said, you know, we're very fortunate that we've got a lot of great players that are able to make us as coaches look good. So that's always a great luxury to have.
Jason Mulvey.
Hey, Matt, Aaron's talked about his off-season leg workouts a couple times with us this year. What did you think of his scramble for the touchdown with the pump fake as you watched that either unfold in real time or on tape? And then what do you think of the way he's used his legs, and judiciously, right, in extending plays, not maybe as frequently as he has in the past?
He's got such a great feel for the position, knowing when he can and cannot extend the play, just getting the ball out of his hands. But in regards to that play in particular, I remember watching it and I was like, this doesn't look like it's going to work. And sure enough, you know, that pump fake got Floyd to jump and he was able to get around the edge. And again, not the way you necessarily draw it up, but when you have great players, they can make you look really good. So that was a credit to him and his teammates being able to go out there and execute in a less than desirable look.
MK Burgess.
Coach, you were talking earlier about how your players have to be dialed in this week, especially your pass rush looks like it's been completely dialed in the past couple games. Where have you seen them take that next step, especially knowing that they probably are going to need to worry Tom Brady a little bit?
Yeah, I think it all, again, stems from the preparation throughout the course of the week. I think our coaches have done a much better job as the season's progressed, getting better with our rush patterns or whatever it is we're trying to get accomplished up front. But also those guys just, you know, screaming off the ball. I mean, a lot of pass rush, obviously there's a lot of technique involved with that, but a lot of it too is you know, just playing with that energy and the effort that you need. It also takes guys on the back end doing their job, the linebackers doing their job. So there's a lot of marriage between, you know, the coverage and the rush in order for it to be successful and put pressure on the quarterback.
Aaron Nagler.
Coach, throughout the year, we've heard you talk about guys on opposing teams as far as coordinators play to their profile, as far as like what you expect or don't expect. Sometimes they veer from their profile. Is this considering the success Tom Brady's had against Mike Pettin, is this a week where you have to kind of alter your profile a little bit because Tom has had a lot of success against him?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I got full confidence that our staff is going to put together the best game plan possible, and whether that's playing to a profile or not, I think you always got to be cognizant of what you're asking your guys to do, and certainly you just don't want to come up with a new scheme. You know, you got to do what you do to some regards, but you can definitely make tweaks throughout the, you know, in your preparation in terms of the plan that you're going to give the guys. But for the most part, I would say it's going to be pretty consistent. I think that we're going to have to do a great job of mixing things up versus Tom, because he does such a good job of being able to dissect different coverages and whatnot. So you gotta try to keep them kind of off balance somehow, some way, and that is always the challenge. Every team I've ever been with, when you're going against a guy of his caliber, is you know, how do you vary some of the looks that you give them?
Leo Haggerty from Tampa.
Coach, you have arguably the best quarterback in the league, yet you rely on a really physical running game between the tackles against the Rams. Was that just going with what was working, or was that weather related when you started to see the snow show up?
No, that was pretty much the game plan going into it in regards to how the structures that they were playing and how they play their defense. It's a very umbrella-esque type coverage on the back end. It's hard to get behind them. And so you have to be willing to run the ball for 4 or 5 yards, 3, 4, 5 yards, and take those take those runs because that's what they're giving you. So I think our guys were just totally on board with that philosophy going into the game, knowing that, you know, if you run it enough, it's going to give us some opportunities in the pass game later on, and that's exactly what happened late in the game.
Silverstein?
Matt, with the week off that you had and then coming out of the Rams game, doesn't seem like you had a ton of injuries. Are you able to push players a little bit more this week in preparation on the practice field, or are you going to just try to stay exactly the way you normally would be?
Yeah, I think our guys are pretty comfortable with the routine that we're in right now. So it's going to be, you know, our typical end-of-year practice schedule, where today will be much more above